We're going to call this meeting of the Kingman Airport and Industrial Park Advisory Commission together. Let's have a roll call, Janie.
Dave M. Spoker,
Present.
Tom Beller, Tamara Seaton Cooper, Paul Gaines, Brendan Laumeister,
Here.
James Lorimer, John Stutzman.
Here.
And we have a quorum.
Yep.
And Ms. Platt, could you please show Commissioner Gaines being here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's all stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have discussion scheduled for opportunities to assist in the promotion of the airport and industrial park. I think we're focusing it mainly on the airport, but we can certainly include the industrial park. I think the first thing we need to do is decide who we're trying to promote and who we're trying to reach with these promotions. Are we looking for people within the community or the area of Kingman, or are we looking for people outside the area? And if so, what would those people be? So we've all had a chance to think about this. Does anybody want to go first and see what they've come up with?
If you don't mind, I can.
Please.
So my whole idea behind this was to, for one, try to find something as low cost and as low overhead as possible while generating the largest returns as possible, whether that's interest from the local community, outside vendors, outside interest, people wanting to become pilots, just the overall promotion and growth of the airport, potential industrial or other businesses that may want to come in or grow, just everything under the sun that has to do with the promotion and growth of the airport and industrial park that's under our commission. So
Short of a shotgun approach?
yes and no. So the shotgun approach was the promotion and growth is, yeah, that's the shotgun portion. And specifically what we want to do, though, I have some ideas that I would like to share with you guys, see what you guys think, and then we can either move into those ideas, further flesh them out, or, you know, you guys can chime in with whatever ideas you guys have, and then we can kind of just, you know, whittle down something and figure out what we want to, you know, potentially see on a future agenda and see what we can accomplish. So,
Well, one thing that's been proposed was a poker run. Next year is the 100th anniversary of Route 66, and it was thought that possibly we could have a poker run between 5 airports that are along Route 66. 5 airports would include probably Holbrook, Winslow, Williams, Seligman, Kingman. Well, Flagstaff's towered, and that shouldn't really be much of a problem, but it's one of the busier airports. Well, it's, of those 5, it would be the busiest.
so along those lines, what I was kind of thinking, this is, and I had some time to really kind of try to put something together, was doing like a rally where, you know, you have a start point, you have like opening ceremonies, safety briefings, you know, rules, all those kinds of things that are held the day prior. And then early in the next morning is when the race would actually start, and it would be held in like a rally type thing where not everybody takes off, doesn't have to take off the same time, doesn't have to land at the same time, but
Their
at
time.
each stop, yeah, they would collect like a stamp. You know,
Sure.
volunteers would be out there monitoring, waiting for the planes to come in. As soon as they touch down, you know, recording the time, pilot would come up, get the stamp, and then go from there. And then having the potential of Kingman being the start and at the end point. So they would start from here the day before, doing the safety briefing, everything, staying the night, and then the next morning going out flying, and then staying the night again, having closing ceremonies or something along those lines once everybody, you know, came back.
So normally the closing ceremonies might include a dinner someplace?
Dinner, prizes,
Prizes,
whatever the case might be, whatever it is that, you know, might happen, but that was kind of the idea that I had floating around in my head.
Would there be, you said prizes for the
So
fastest, prizes?
so there'd be like a grand champion, a second and a third place, a Route 66 Spirit Award, so the best heritage theme aircraft or crew, young pilots under 30 award, best vintage aircraft, community choice, and perfect attendance from every checkpoint. So if somebody accidentally skips or doesn't land somewhere or something, you know, that, you know, their time gets added up for where they did go, so.
Quite oftentimes those have penalties added to the time.
Yeah, whatever the case might be. I hadn't whittled it down quite that far, but, you know, it just, those were some of the ideas that I had kind of come up with for that. So, do you guys have any input or anything? I don't know how you guys feel about any of that.
I've never been in a poker run like that, but
Well-
sounds fun.
He's not talking about a poker run, are you?
To be honest, I'm not 100% sure what the difference between the poker run and this would be.
The poker run, at wherever you're flying to, you get a playing card. And when you get done with all 5 stops, you've got 5 cards. And then whoever has the best hand
So
is the winner.
that might be, I mean, that to me could be something worth pursuing. The other reason why I thought something like this is because if this was like, say if this happens like annually or biannually, and eventually maybe more airports want to join in, or other, you know, people from outside of the state want to come and, you know, participate in this kind of stuff too, that it, you know, eventually maybe stretches the entire length of Route 66 and hits all the general aviation airports along the way, and, you know, becomes like a week-long event or something like that. I think with the poker run, what it sounds like is you only get the 5 cards, so you're only picking 5 airports. Maybe at the start that might be good, but I think this too is, if, like, for example, if this is the first year and only 3 airports want to be involved, then we're not limited in what we're doing with it. It can be scaled up or scaled down based on participation.
So the winner would be whoever does it the fastest.
Whoever has the best time overall.
So the people with slow airplanes may not be interested in doing it.
But again, I think that's why having more than just the awards for, you
For
know,
like vintage.
yeah, having like a
Okay.
lot of different, you know, or different classes of aircraft. You know, this would, like I said, this was me just kind of real quick, just trying to figure out, hey, you know, what could a potential structure for awards look like? if there's anything other than that, then, you know, I was kind of thinking maybe you
Chair.
guys might have some ideas.
Vice Chair, may I just throw out an idea? When it comes to actual air races, a good idea will maybe be reaching out to I think it's the women 99ers out of Lake Havasu. A couple of years back, they did an air race going over our airport, and they do have some type of handicap, very similar to golf, for slower aircraft compared to quicker aircraft. So that could be a group that you could reach out to and find out how do they accommodate from a 172 and Commissioner Stutzman RV.
That's an excellent point.
There'd be a handicap on mine.
Well, I bet, again, you know, these are all things that, you know, I didn't even think about having a handicap like that. So that's a very good point, something worth considering, I think. And that, I think, probably would address your concern right there, too.
Yes, it would.
Paul, do you have any input?
I'm just going to listen for a while because I'm pretty involved with
Yeah.
promoting the airport right now with
Yeah.
the museum and everything. And I can't put a lot more on my plate, but I'd love to participate in some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So,
I'm so glad that you brought that up because I had actually thought about something like that too. Whereas if we're at the beginning, at the end of the race, you know, vendors or whoever that's out at the airport, that could be one of those things that you guys have out there is like some kind of booth or something, and you know, potentially get interest in.
like we're doing our bit, like we're going to be at the Veterans Day Parade. We have a float there just to add to our list of stuff that we're doing. So it's and we did. Dave was involved as well, but for several years, Tim Gerlach, who was on this commission, and I were the main horsepower behind a few of the airfests that were out the airport. And it costs money and it takes time, and it's just you got to have both of those. You got to have some people behind it, and we often get asked, when are you guys going to have another one of those? I'm going to go. I always say, get your checkbook out.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, it costs many thousands of dollars to get some of the cool World War II airplanes just to appear. It's called an appearance fee, and some of those things are like $8,000 for one, and so we ended up a lot of the money that we didn't collect, and we got some sponsorships but it takes time to go out and get money for sponsors. Dave's pretty good at that. It takes time to go out and get money for sponsorships, and whatever we don't have to make up the difference, Tim and I would get our checkbooks out. And so it's one of those. So I'm just letting you know that I feel personally involved with trying to do some big things at the airport, and like I said, I'll be more than happy to participate in some of this stuff as far as an entrant, but I'm not sure I'm going to spend a lot of time putting all this together, kind of thing. But I come up with ideas too of how to put it together. Like we have we have state flying group, Arizona Pilots Association, that might be a group for the Route 66 in Arizona kind of idea. And I think that was your thought, which I thought was a good idea, to go to all the airports along Route 66. I think that has some staying power for a long-term event. I really do.
Yeah, and you know, again, with the idea of not necessarily not the poker run, because we could very well do something like that too, but just to have the scalability of the participation of the airports along Route 66, or even just starting, you know, somewhere small within the local area, maybe Havasu, Bullhead, and Kingman, or whatever it is that we could possibly come up with, whoever wants to participate, and then go from there. And I do agree with the price thing. My whole thought process is if we spend $5,000 but we end up making $10,000, is that worth the return? Is it even going to do that? Like,
And where does that 10,000 go? If we spend 5,000
Well-
and we clear a profit of 5,000,
well, the
does that go
10,000,
into the city budget?
it's not necessarily the airport itself making the 10,000. It's the vendors, the sales taxes, the people staying here and buying things and spending money in town, and what kind of return on investment overall is the city itself getting versus.
Oh, yeah, I understand that. But if the entry fees bring in more money, entry fees and vendor support brings in more money,
So
where does that money go?
I think maybe then that could
Does it
become
go
part
to-
of the
to the
award.
prizes?
That could. I mean, it very well could. After you're done paying all of the expenses, whatever's left over could be added as a percentage of whatever the cash prize is for the winners of the contest or along those lines. So it could even, the more people participate, stay, the sweeter the pot could get.
True. True.
I would know how to act if we had money left over. Because that's never happened. So I just get the pen out like, "Yeah, how much? Okay, there you go."
That, that did not happen on the Air Fest.
No, it did not.
I know. When the EAA brought the B-17 to Kingman, we were benefited nicely from it. We worked hard on it, but when aluminum overcast came to Kingman, we got 20% of the sales,
Yeah, EA being a nonprofit tied to the aluminum overcast because that's the EA airplane.
right?
So that's why that all kind of works.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I guess my question is how much does something like the Route 66 Fest cost that they just put on? You know, something like that within the airport, I don't think would take a whole lot of money.
I don't have the exact dollar amount, but I know that they lose money every year. I do know that. Because I know the people that put it on, how much it costs and what they bring in. And it's several $10,000-$20,000 loss.
Yearly?
Yes.
So I guess,
I'm not trying to throw cold water on any of these concepts. I'm just saying that the reality of things cost money
yeah.
and time.
And I don't think there's any, is there any money in the budget for something like this from the city?
We don't sponsor a lot of budget for this. Maybe, assisting with locations, such as if you want to use the bay, similar to what CAMA's done in the past. The airport bay is your celebration, which we have tables, we have chairs,
have-
those types of items.
We have barricades.
Barricades are actually owned by the city, so that costs us no cash. But maybe renting porta-johns or something, depending on the size of the event. In this case, an air race or something like that, or even a poker run, is that going to really require that much?
I don't think it's
upfront
going to
compens-
require much from the city.
So I don't think even overall that may not probably require too much.
Typically on something like this, there's a entry fee of 50, 75, something, somewhere in that neighborhood. And that normally covers the meal and a little bit of the expense. Meal and prizes hopefully come out of the entry fee. But I had another thought. We have a lot of people that like to run. And one day within the last month, I came out to the airport and there were people doing a 5K run for something, I think for breast cancer awareness. And they were running on Mojave Airport, on Flight Line, and doing a circle back. And it dawned on me that maybe we could do a running on the runway for local people that like to run to come out. We'd have a small entry fee. We'd have some prizes. We'd shut down the one of the runways, probably 1735, since the other is the more primary runway. And they could run from starting point down to 17, come back 17, get off at Taxiway Delta, and we'd have a route where they would run, and we might not have to I don't know, you tell me, would we have to shut down both runways for something like that? Or just have some people out there to make sure they didn't go on to the wrong runway?
If you're doing something like that and you're crossing the intersection, it'll require both runways to be shut down. Including you also have to keep an eye of the primary taxiway, Delta, that connects to the primary runway. On the other hand, keep in mind for these types of items, you have to get the FAA's blessing. And a lot of times what they'll ask is there another location that you could do it and show the impact to flight operations that's being occurred? So you also have to go through and get permission for the FAA to shut down the event for a non-aeronautical activity. Just a thought, let's say if the runway becomes not a good idea, but what about doing a perimeter road run?
A perimeter road run?
Yeah, where you start off and we go and we put some restrictions, due to our attendance, but you start off in, let's say near Alpha Zulu Composites. You go through the storage area, you run around, you're on the backside near the VOR, you come back around. You go by the World War II hangars, the original World War II hangars along the ramp, and I mean, that will be a question that we have to get our risk management involved in that to see if that's capable of, but that could be an idea, and we could see how long that is.
Are you talking about the road that would be on the outside of the fence or the inside of the fence?
Let's
is there both,
just say for right
effectively?
now, inside the fence,
Okay.
because that's continuous. That may be an option of looking at doing something just outside the fence.
And that would get local people more involved. I'm not saying that we couldn't do both of these items, but it's just something to think about.
I will say, trying to figure out right now until the government reopens about using the runway for running event may be very difficult because I'm not too sure which side of the FAA that request goes up.
Well, if we do it while they're closed, we don't have to ask them.
That's true.
I got a couple of things held up because of that.
Just a quick side note to go back just a hair. I do have someone that's aware of how much the 66 Fest costs, and they had a budget of $90,000. So that's a chunk of money
90,000 for what?
for the Route 66 Fest that was at Kingman Park.
Oh.
The 2-day event.
Yeah.
So,
And
and
they
that's
lost
public
money?
records available. The information's available on public records. So,
Yeah. And they lost money?
yes.
So, some other things along the same time. I had thought about doing like some kind of run on the runway 5K, and then thought about significant hurdles with actually shutting it down and whether or not it would actually benefit the airport itself to have the runway shut down, to have people running on it. And then some other ideas that were low cost, like maybe having more minor events out there, like a movie night where they have like a big inflatable thing that they do downtown, but they're showing aviation related movies. Having a couple vendors out there doing stuff like that. A lot of things that I'm trying to think of that are low cost for the city, other than just having maybe like 1 or 2 people out there to unlock, certain areas or to use the bays or something along those lines. Because I know that the city does do, I don't know what their return is for the downtown over there at the park, that they have the drive-in movies there during the summer. But it'd been something that crossed my mind, maybe replicating something that they already do, and whether it would be worth, if it's not spending too much.
Aren't those events free? The drive-in movie things, aren't they?
I'm not sure. I haven't been to one. I know they exist. I just haven't been to one because I've been pretty busy with my own kids. Usually when they do those, I'm doing other things. So,
Is the basic idea of the stuff you're talking about, is it to make money or just spend some money to promote the airport and get more people to recognize it? What's the...
So for me, like I was saying earlier, return on investment, return on, how much effort, time, money is put into it. what are we getting out of it? Is it worth doing? So it's a little, I don't want to, be $90,000 in the hole for something, right? But at the same time, I also wanted to make sure that, the airport and industrial park aren't put on a back burner somewhere, that people are like, oh, hey, look, there's actually things happening. This is actually good for the economy, for the community. It's, there's benefit to it. Because I think that, there's obviously, there's going to be costs, and there's going to be things that come in that aren't necessarily measurable in dollars, like reputation or goodwill. When you're looking at like something in business, the goodwill of the business goes a long way as much as, so I guess that's just kind of what I was thinking is, what's going to benefit the airport and industrial park? How do we promote and grow? How do we, advertise that to the people of Kingman to get the backing and support for these kinds of things?
But clearly, I think any of the pilots in the area are already pretty well aware of the airport.
Well,
But if we want to broaden that base, and I don't know anybody that is a pilot that doesn't want to see the airport grow. We want an avionics shop. We want a motor shop.
so
I think,
but where I'm coming from with this is we all know, and you guys are pilots, obviously, we all know pilots want these things, but when the citizens that aren't pilots, that have nothing to do with the airport, look at it, they're going, why do we care? What's in it for us, right? There's that outside support that might not necessarily be there. So if something needs to be done or we want something, if something goes in front of city council going to look at their constituents, and their constituents are going, well, what do we care about the airport for? The pilots are the only ones that care, and there's only a handful of them.
May I throw out another recommendation for an event? What about just a car and aircraft auto show, both side by side? People who have old warbirds, older aircraft that wish to come out here, allow people in vehicles to come out and park, and then that's very minimum cost. You could allow sponsors such as food trucks or somebody to be out nearby to assist with feeding, drinking those people. Will be a small charge for the sponsor, whoever's sponsoring it. Very little cost. It's kind of ad hoc, so people just have to register ahead of time, maybe a small fee, maybe a few sponsors. In that case, it could be a blend of industrial park, a blend of some of the auto people inside of the city, and just kind of marry those two. I know it's something very similar to the Air Fest, but it's not going to be demonstrations. It's going to be something on a much smaller scale.
So I had actually come up with a name for that and a whole thing for that too. It's called Winds and Wheels.
called what?
I called it Winds and Wheels.
Winds and Wheels.
So something very, very much
We
on
had-
point with that.
At the last Airfest, we had a lot of military vehicles come. They drove all the way from Las Vegas at like 50 miles an hour. It took them forever to get here. But they might be interested in coming back. They seem to set up and have a good time. But getting vintage aircraft to come here,
Yeah, that's where
It's
the
gonna
big
be
expense is.
costly.
And that's what everybody wants to see, Brandon. It's, they want to see a World War II Mustang or a B-17 or a B-25, and that's where all the big checks, get your checkbook out, happens. And that's where, and they're pretty popular, and we get a lot of people that come out, but because it's free, and we're not charging anything, so no money's coming out. And a lot of people in this town can't afford to bring their family and their 3 or 4 kids if it's $10 a head. They just won't do it. And so we wanted to do that. We've been doing that kind of for the community. It's fun for us as pilots to have neat old warbirds hanging out for a day also. But it's, it does take effort, and you've got to have a good, solid crew of volunteers that are willing to spend the time and get back behind back the organization. and hopefully get some sponsorships. And like the last big air show that was down at Bullhead, Laughlin Bullhead, our museum was there as an attendee, if you will, and we had space down there. That was funded fully from grants, from tourism grants from the state of Arizona. That's where they applied for it and got it, and it was substantial. It was like $70,000 plus another 25 for marketing. It was all from grants, and that stuff's gone right now. So they're not going to do that at the moment. And we thought about that too. I said, well, if there's grants available, like there's also Route 66 or historic grants, because we're on 66 as opposed to them. There are other opportunities that we're looking at for that kind of thing. And so just to let you know, from our side, our perspective is we got to get some funding, to have a real event somehow, because there's not going to be any entrant. No one's going to want to pay a fee to come in. So, and that takes, of course, again, time and access to, or ideas of, or grant if it's out there. We would love to have it, because being a pilot, and people know me as a pilot, hey, when you guys going to do the Airfest again?
Yeah.
You hear it all the time.
So again, at least once a week.
We would do it if we had the money.
It's another idea along the lines of people that might not be able to do $10 per head is a Toy for Tots holiday fly-in. Having a Santa Claus or somebody come in on, an aircraft and doing a Toys for Tots drive or something along those lines too. That was another idea that I had that, as you mentioned, that got me thinking about it. I mean, there's a lot of things. I think the scale of it may be a issue. Doing something smaller, I think the air rally race doesn't necessarily need to have a lot of overhead.
No, it doesn't need a lot of overhead. What it needs is volunteers to work it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it needs somebody who says, like if you were to say, I'm going to do this and organize it, then you'd be contacting, making phone calls to all the, to the airports and finding who the airport manager is, and like Doug would receive a phone call if it wasn't on our end, from someone that's organizing this poker run, for example, down Route 66, and Holbrook is the first one farthest to the east, and are you guys interested? We'd love to have this, so it takes time to organize that, then flying out there, maybe in meeting with them and telling them kind of what they're going to have, like a canopy out there and a couple of volunteers handing out the cards, maybe free water to the pilots, that kind of thing. So every stop would have that. So it takes time to organize it and put it together.
I handed out cards here for the 99ers poker run. And they just walk in and say, I'm here for the poker run. Some of them would go in and eat at the restaurant, so there was a benefit to the airport and to Crystal Burge. But you have to have somebody that you can count on at each community to hand out the cards. And maybe you'll have somebody at each of those communities that you can count on to do that.
And in theory, it kind of benefits each airport a little bit, maybe. And they could have another, if someone had a street vendor that showed up at each one of these places, that would of course benefit them. But it's amazing how many ideas you have to put in the ears of people who want to promote their business. Like I was involved with Kingman Main Street doing First Friday events years ago, and it's very difficult to drag people kicking and screaming to help promote their own business. It's weird how they don't do it. Like we're bringing them, now it's 10,000 people for First Fridays that come down. It's over 10,000 now. Like the city now is involved. So people are bringing you people, 10,000 people to your location. You should put a little effort in and promote your business a little bit while those people are here. But if each one of these places would have someone there to, again, hand out water, be friendly, and then maybe even they could even hand out coupons for restaurants if you drive through Holbrook, if you drive through Williams. There's all these little ideas that people that really want to promote their places can do, but it'll take some organization and some hours for someone that's willing to do it. To go out and make this effort. And I really think pilots are looking, like people in motorcycle groups are looking for places to go and excuses to do something. you know, like to go eat or have an event. Hey, they're doing this thing for this bike event over at the next town over. Pilots looking for reasons to burn fuel too, you know, and if it was along 66, I'd never heard of this. You know, I've never heard of this idea of these airports along 66, but it exists. And that's why when I first heard that, that was one of the few ideas aviation-wise. I thought that is not a bad idea, and it could be an annual event, and it could grow over the years. I think of all these things so far that you're talking about, because it wouldn't cost as much money, because I know what that pain is like. That to me is the most interesting so far.
We've been doing most of the talking, this end of the table. You have anything to contribute here?
I have, go ahead. I know I like to fly to Havasu in the evening because they have the Hangar 24 there, and it's pretty decent food. Sedona's got a restaurant, an awesome restaurant right there at the airport. We have a restaurant here, the Italian place. It's not on the airport, but their food is amazing. We love it.
Very good, yeah.
But they don't have a lot of seating. I mean, so I don't know if they were to promote, or how, if a pilot flew in, how would they get over there? Have to walk, I guess, to the Italian restaurant?
I'm not aware of any other way for them to
Right.
get there.
Right.
Unless they use the FBO's courtesy truck.
Yeah, someone's got a courtesy vehicle on the airport.
Anyway. If there was a restaurant that was open in the evening with good food, that would bring in some people too. But
True.
May I throw out something? Sorry, it just jogged in my mind. Arizona Private Pilots Association. They sent something out about 2 years ago. I know everybody slept since then when we had this discussion in one commission meeting of QR codes to each airport. And if you belong to them, you could join up on their website and use that QR code, and it tracks you as you go to each airport. And as that builds up with them, you have the ability to win some types of prizes. And it starts off, I think, with caps, and it goes as large as a bomber jacket with all the Arizona airports on there. It may be something where if you're doing some type of air race or something like that, they have to land, they have to work with that airport, find where there are QR codes if the airport has one, register there, and work with the Arizona Pilots Association and see if they could track that and get you that information that that pilot landed at that airport at that time and was there to hitting up that QR code. I mean, that may be one way. Sorry that I was thinking that we could that it could be done without the use of a lot of manpower in these locations. It's just a thought.
I mean, I don't have any issue with the ideas that are floating around. I just, like I said, I had some stuff that I had been thinking about and was trying to see if maybe anyone else had any information. Again, the Women 99 Club has done something similar with the air race. So maybe they have already invented the wheel and we don't have to reinvent the wheel, just modify it a little bit.
I think that wheel's been invented a long time ago by a whole lot of different places. We've all heard of poker runs from all over the place. And the motorcycle clubs do the same thing.
So again, part of the whole idea for me with the promotion and growth of the airport is not just the pilot's involvement, but it's the community's involvement and community support for the airport, because the more support there is, better it is for the pilots, and potentially maybe even have, you know, some younger people join in and doing stuff with the different groups and getting involved with becoming pilots themselves. So that was my overarching goal, is just, you know, how do we do that? How do we accomplish that?
what about, I don't know, pancake breakfast and have some airplanes on display? You know, $5 a person for breakfast. I don't know.
Well, that's
At the-
traditionally what a lot of EAA chapters have done,
Right.
as you know. I guess we as a commission could do that, I don't know.
The EEA chapter, our one is not really growing, as you know.
Yeah, it's dying.
It's literally dying. And this is not a huge, there are a handful of airplanes out there, a lot of them used for business and that kind of stuff, but the air fests and the air shows that have happened out there before are really to show off the airport and to show old cool airplanes and some aviation activity. But again, I just keep coming back to it does take time and money, and I don't know, other than goodwill, I don't know if there's ever any really return, or there's been a return that you can show that has happened from these events. I'm just not aware of it, which doesn't make me not want to do it. What makes me not want to do it, it just costs money.
Yeah.
I keep coming back to this. It's the big theme, and you have some big. There was a Havasu had the brewery down there that you go, whatever it is, the Mud Shark is down there, is that right? No, the one that was on the Hangar 24, excuse me.
Yes,
not
Hangar
Mud Shark.
24.
When Hangar 24 sold out to some other larger beer company, and they got a big old check, and they liked airplane. Hangar 24, the original brewery, was in California at a hangar adjacent to an airport. And they got this big fat check, and they wanted to have a big, for like, I think 2 years they had an air show down there. Was it 1 or 2 years? It was pretty big. This is a handful of years
Palm
ago.
Springs, wasn't it?
No, the one that was here at Havasu, excuse me.
I don't remember.
Okay, well, I do, but anyway, I also know it's $100,000. So they wrote that just because they wanted to have this really cool air show, and they did. It was nice. I flew down there, and we were stuck down there because of all of the flight restrictions, and then we flew back when it was over, and it was neat. But I know people in the beer industry and what that cost to do, to put on a real proper, and promote the hell out of the airport, but when it's all over, I don't think the airport really changed any, aviation is a tough world. It's kind of expensive, and you got to be really dedicated and motivated to get in it and stay in it. And it's not easy. Our chapter we had a sponsorship one time to teach someone how to fly. I believe there was some kind of a. Don't remember how the fundraising went. You probably went out and got a lot of money for that, actually, to pay for a kid's flight school.
EAA, for every kid we fly, we get a $10 donation from EAA to use for whatever. And what we do is we can send a young person to the summer camp. And like we're going to be doing a Young Eagles rally in Bullhead here shortly. And every kid that flies there gets a logbook, and on the back of the logbook is a code where Sporties will give them a free ground school, which is a $300 savings. So we're already doing things to encourage young people to fly.
Right.
And one kid that I flew now flying for the Air Force. Another kid I flew got his pilot's license, and he's majoring in aeronautical engineering in college. So it does work. But
Jerry,
I've flown over
Smoker.
300 kids.
That's kind of interesting. What that was, some of these events. So let's just say an air or an auto show event where people could just register their cars. People could register aircraft. It doesn't have to be a P-51. It could be an older version like the plane that Tim Gerlach has, or even what is
A
it?
172?
No,
No,
the
his other
twin.
one.
Oh, his other one? Yeah.
Yeah, his other one, or
Well, Dan's got a couple things here
yeah.
too. So
Yeah.
and maybe that plus mixing in Young Eagles, and also let's say if we work something out with food vehicles and so forth, where a percentage of their food sales with all those kids coming in, additional people coming in, not only to see the cars but also to register their kids, finding sponsors with that, maybe that would work out. And then plus, you could do other stuff like where we can work with the Route 66 group to see what they could bring in, maybe work with Chamber of Commerce to get some business to go out there and talk about their needs. And that's the case then from an airport standpoint, even from a commission standpoint, you can sit there and show the value of the airport through the businesses it brings in, the support to the community, and the economic impact it has to the community. Get that out there and promote the airport that way. I mean, I think there's a lot of ways we could do this possibly, and I do see it where we could probably do this affordably, and we may just have to end up doing the research.
Well, this is a discussion only, so is there any further discussion that needs to be made? We haven't made any decisions here, but I think if we can do some research, are we allowed to appoint a committee to do research?
No, there is no committees. It's always going to have to be work session. I believe City Council said, because no matter what's going to end up happening, we'll have to do it in this situation. So if everybody goes out there and does research and then comes back, then they can sit back and say, let's have another work session where we could discuss what we've discovered, because it's all going to fall under public meeting law.
But without having a quorum, a couple members can talk about stuff, right? Ideas and things,
You just need a minimum quorum.
right?
But if you do speak to it outside of work, you can't violate that rule of piecemealing.
So 2 or 3 of us can talk together,
That would
but that
really
would be the maximum.
I guess so. I would probably say what we'll probably have to do is go back and look at the commission meeting or training earlier this year for the new
Yeah.
commissioners, just to verify that we're not going to violate that piecemeal version. Now, if you have individuals like representatives from EAA saying, you know what, we can research this side, let's go ahead and tee that up for the next meeting, saying, hey, we went out there, we found out from these last events, here's how much this cost. Or in this case, if somebody says, you know what, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to give 99ers a call, and then the next meeting has that. But what we're trying to do is prevent interaction outside of the public.
Right.
That breaks the rules. I mean, honest with you, with some of this, even though I said I'm trying to keep myself as much out of it, I am going to make some phone calls. I am going to do and see what I can do to help out with the calls. I'll be honest with you, besides the airport, I really have no life. So a lot of times I sit back and I think about this stuff when I'm home. And I'll still do some research on my end, and I'll report back on that, such as one of the beautiful things is like discussions on the walking. We just had an email from the FAA giving directions about that 2 days ago. So that was kind of handy in this because we just got that, and I still got to follow up some information on that and figure out, hey, where is this form? How long does this take? What do they mean by impacts to the community? And then as you guys brought up walking, they kind of dawned on me, if that fails, what's another option? Because everything is based upon, if plan A fails, where's plan B? How can you still keep getting things moving? And that's another discussion where like right now, I'm probably going to end up, she's probably already gone, going to our risk management lady and say, hey, what do we need to do to make you feel comfortable? Or, okay, can you come out to the airport? Let's take a look at this. And some of this stuff is going to involve other businesses. If we do have to shut down the runway, how is that going to impact our flight school? Because our flight school may work on the weekends because that's when a good chunk of their people. How is that going to impact walking through the storage area with our aircraft storage companies who prefer not having pictures? But they may say, oh, that's fine, as long as they don't take pictures. I mean, there's some questions out there that have to be answered, which I am probably going to end up raising with those groups and just kind of get ahead of some of these questions that you guys are going to direct towards me.
Yeah, if we had a run out there, I'm sure we'd have to involve Jet Yard and Kingman Airline Service. We'd have to get their permission.
Well, at least to see what will make them feel comfortable. Odds are it's probably going to end up being pictures. That's a big one from them.
Yeah.
A lot of times, a lot of them don't lease those areas. It's an access road that goes around that nobody's leasing. So people will be able to run on it if our risk management's okay with it, if we can find a good way to do this. But if we have people taking a picture, because please keep in mind, they have customers, and those customers request those aircraft not being online because they don't want somebody who is going to be flying an aircraft who types in that registration number and then see it at Kingman, which they don't realize Kingman's a storage facility, but when you go online, it says Boneyard. So they start freaking out. They don't want to fly it. It has a trickle-down effect with the rest of the passengers, even though that aircraft meets all FAA requirements. So that's one thing, and that's some of the stuff that we have to look at and figure out how we can make all parties comfortable. It may just be a certain stretch, like go over here, do a turnaround this location, and come back through. I mean, it could have. There's many ways how we could do this.
Does anybody have anything else? I think,
So do we want to request anything for future agenda items related to this then?
yeah, I'd like to see on the December meeting agenda, information. Can you find out from risk management what their requirements will be?
Here's, I don't think we could do any type of recommendations for the upcoming agenda. It's just discussion. Don't worry, I'm already ahead of that one. I'm already ahead of that one.
Okay, so
So I think what's gonna end up happening in the next meeting is just have discussions on what to do next, coming up in the next, December meeting. And see what we can, what I will answer some of the questions, as I said, that's on my end. Let me rephrase this, that's on my end. But the next meeting is gonna sit back and say, okay, let's look at possibly these actions, these options. Let's have this type of research go forward with, this person or this person or this person. And I'll definitely ask our city attorney if we're allowed to do that. So the following meeting, and it could be a January meeting, it could be a February meeting where we could come back and say, okay, here's all the information together. Here's possible sponsors. Let's move forward with this in this way. Or let's move forward and do further research or start working towards this item.
can you get a more definitive answer on what the FAA would require as well?
That's one thing. That's especially for closing down the runways.
Yeah.
It is, and they put down some information, as I said. I'm definitely gonna look into that. I have to look into that. If we keep researching this, you don't even have to say that. I gotta look into it. But as I said, due to the government shutdown, they may just turn around and say, yeah, we have that idea, but it's gonna have to wait till it reopens. And then you're gonna be on the back burner compared to everybody else who's been waiting for the past 38 days.
Well, and you brought up a good point that the flight school does most of their business on the weekend. I was out there, and I think you've been out there, and they're doing a lot more flying on the weekend than they do during the week.
I think we should probably try to avoid events that actually close the airport, the runways.
Yeah. I agree.
And let's just say for the run, this may be one of those where instead of having somebody transition or a group of people transition right across the main ramp, we somehow open up the gate by BLM, so they go out, they run along Flight Line Drive, they see those businesses out there, they see the businesses inside the, on that side, plus they're able to still see Straubes and so forth, and then when they get over towards Alpha Zulu Composites, they enter that gate. I mean, there's many ways how we can handle this.
Yeah.
Well, we could also tie in some kind of a business industrial event where they actually go out there and have like a jobs thing too, or their own promotion of what their business does and what opportunities they might have and what their economic, I think Chamber of Commerce might be a good resource for a lot of that stuff, maybe going through them to see who's interested.
And there has to be ways that we got to keep people from running out onto the runways and so forth, so that, I mean, there's ways we could do this. It's just going to be a lot of communications and coordination. And it may require just a few volunteers and some waivers and so forth, but we could find out.
Can we make a motion to adjourn?
That's up to you guys.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded that we adjourn this work session. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.